beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Siren Craft Brew, and this is a can of their Huntington, California IPA, coming in at 6.2% ABV in a 440 milliliter can. Siren Craft Brew, well, they've been in the supermarkets now for quite a while. They had the Broken Dream in the supermarket in the little purple cans, 330 milliliters. They had this stout in cans. I've had a few beers in their cans, and then over the last few years, certainly the last 2 years, they've kind of gravitated their cans to 440 milliliters. And then they've launched them into Tesco's, Morrison's, certainly ASDA and Sainsbury's. You see a lot of Siren Craft Brew. It's weird though, because I've had some really good beers from Siren. I've had a few. I think it's called Pompomacello, is it? I'm not really a fan of the Pompomacello. Don't think I like that one. But then on the rebound, on the other side of things, they put a beer into Sainsbury's called Thought Bubble, and I thought that was one of the finest IPAs ever to hit the supermarket shelves for that kind of £3 price point. This beer is launched into ASDA. I picked this up in my local ASDA. Huntington, California IPA. 6.2% ABV. So I'm starting this review with optimism. With, if Thought Bubble was really good, then fingers crossed this is going to be a really good beer too. So, well, let's get into it. Nice levels of carbonation rolling up the side of the glass. We've got a slightly hazy looking, lightish amber coloured beer. Quite a bit of carbonation actually. There's no great deal of sediment. It's not like there's big lumps and chunks floating around in the bottom of the glass. But at the same time, it's got a nice kind of haziness to it. Let's get the aroma then. This cost me £3 for the can. Oh, this is one of those kind of raw, maybe American West Coast. Maybe this has got a whacking great bitterness on the back end, because this has got a kind of a certain kind of rawness to it. It's really grapefruit forward, really kind of orange peel forward. Really pithy, if you like. Like, even by just getting my nose into the beer, this feels like that when I drink the beer, it's going to feel like I'm chewing on grapefruit peel or orange peel. It's got a really big kind of zestiness to it. It smells good. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Interesting. It feels rough around the edges. It feels like a rough diamond around the edges. It just feels... it's just a bit rough. It's just a bit... like, it's quite carbonated. It's quite hissy and fizzy. There is a nice bitterness on the back end. You're getting some of the malt bill, then you're getting some of the zestiness that I was talking about earlier in the aroma. It's just a bit messy, it's just a bit rough. dare I say it, there's the smallest amount of diacetyl. The smallest amount of diacetyl that's what you're greeted with. A little bit of butterscotch. Now that might be, it's probably a batch thing. So if you're drinking a Huntington California IPA thinking, no, there's no diacetyl in my can. It might be the way the can has been stored. It might be my local ASDA, the way they've stored the beer. I've been critical of ASDA in the past with the way they kind of perhaps store their beers. It could be a batch thing where they may have slightly rushed the batch. But there's a slight butterscotch flavour as soon as you kind of start drinking the beer, and that immediately puts me off. That butterscotch then kind of rolls into quite an aggressive grapefruit and orange peel zest. It doesn't feel, it feels slightly artificial. It feels almost forced. And then there's that kind of slightly astringent bitterness that's coming through. As good as the Thought Bubble was in Sainsbury's, that was a terrific beer by Siren Craft Brew. I could drink can after can after can of that. Apparently, some of my subscribers have been commenting saying this beer has now been discontinued. It's not in Sainsbury's anymore, which is a crying shame because it wasn't in Sainsbury's for long. It wasn't in Sainsbury's for very long. You just feel... You just feel like Siren could do wonderful things in the supermarket beer space. But in order to do wonderful things, they need to have a level of consistency across all supermarkets. Not just in Sainsbury's or Waitrose or Marks and Spencer's, you know, your higher end supermarkets, maybe Tesco. I know it's ASDA, and let's be quite frank here, ASDA is, I worked in ASDA for a long time, and the way our bosses in ASDA described ASDA's position was, ASDA is in a pretty awful position where it's fighting Tesco for people, of course, but it's also fighting the Lidl and Aldi choice of shopper, if you like. So that kind of budget shopper. So ASDA found itself in it wanted to be slightly premium. It wasn't thought of as being slightly premium, but it was kind of, well, I'm pretty sure you comment in the comments box. If you think of ASDA, do you think of like Lidl and Aldi at the same time? It's got that kind of feel about it. So I'm not saying that Siren have put this beer into ASDA and because it's a more or less a discount style supermarket that there's a bit of leeway for them to put in a pretty mediocre IPA. Because what happens is that the people who bought Thought Bubble in Sainsbury's and really enjoyed it, like I did, my thought process was when I was in ASDA, I was thinking to myself, Thought Bubble was great. I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to pick up a few cans of that. It looks good. I've got a couple left in the fridge. And I'm thinking to myself, I kind of wish I never bothered now. But I think Siren, if you look at salt beer, and I always look at salt beer because whenever Salt have put beers in the supermarket, they've always been a terrific quality. I think I've had one mediocre beer from Salt, but the rest have been terrific. Across the board of supermarkets, across Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco, Morrison's, across the lot, Salt have just giving you that level of quality. And I just feel that Siren needs to hit that same level of quality to be able to be a trusted supermarket brand. There's no point in making a terrific beer called Thought Bubble, putting it in Sainsbury's, and then apparently it's discontinued already. It was a terrific beer. And then the next beer that they bring out in ASDA, like this, it's just not so good. It's just not really there. A touch of diacetyl, astringent bitterness. It's like chemically feel about it. It's like artificial feel about it. It just didn't, it's just not winning me over. It's just not. And then of course, the next time you go into a supermarket, you think, oh, do I pick up that new Siren beer? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be a bit wishy-washy? And then, you know, you're beating yourself up, really, haven't you? You're beating yourself up over whether you're going to spend £3 on a can of Siren craft beer in the supermarket. Because you just never know the level of quality. You never quite know. Right, Huntington, California IPA, a light, crisp IPA with refreshing, zesty citrus notes. We use incredible Citra, Cascade and Mosaic hops for fresh, piney aromas and heaps of tropical fruit flavours. Huntington finishes with a moorish, resinous bitterness, inviting you in for the next sip. Not really, Siren. It's not really inviting me to the next sip. In fact, I'm going to struggle to finish that, in all honesty. 6.2% ABV. It's too much. There's diacetyl in the can. There's an astringent bitterness. It's a bit wishy-washy. For me, it's a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers!